Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Fire Emblem Awakening for the 3DS. This title was sent to me by Nintendo so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. And in case you guys are wondering, what is Fire Emblem Awakening all about? It is essentially a tactical RPG. Now, this is actually a pretty cool game that I had heard about previously, but I never really had a chance to take a look at it because I didn't have a 3DS. And I've been playing it for the past couple of days. I'm about 4 hours in at this point, and so far I'm really enjoying it. This was another one of those titles that kind of surprised me because when I first looked at the gameplay, when you start on the first tutorial mission, I was like, not so sure how I like this, because the first tutorial mission is like super simple, and I wasn't sure I was liking the graphics all that much and whatnot. But once things actually got going and you get into, more complex missions and stuff like that, that is when I really started getting into it. But let's start things off from the beginning instead of me just like diving into the gameplay and whatnot. Let's start a little bit at the beginning, because another thing that is very important to this particular title, I feel, is the story, which is actually pretty good from what I've experienced so far. And I'm not going to spoil you guys, but I am going to, give you a very basic idea of what the plot is at the very start. So you're going to create a character. So you're actually going to be able to create a character in this game. You're not going to just be playing with pre-made characters, which was something that, again, this was surprising to me. I was like, but I thought this was tactical RPG. Usually you don't usually get to, create your own avatar, which is something that you do in Fire Emblem, which is pretty cool, because to me, it's something that immerses me a lot more in the game when I get to create a character that represents me in the game world, So you create your character, and that character is featured in an enigmatic animation of a combat sequence very early on, where it is just your character and Chrom, who is one of the main characters of the game, and you're fighting off this evil sorcerer. There's not a lot of detail on this particular scene, and like I said, it is somewhat enigmatic as to what the hell is going on. And I don't want to reveal stuff that happens in this scene, to be completely honest. I just wanted to tell you that you create this character, shows up on this scene. Your character is some kind of a mix between a mage, what do you call those? A spell sword, where you have magic as well as melee capabilities. That is your character. He's a mage, but he also has melee capabilities. And no, you don't get to select the class for your character. You do get to select like a stat to boost for your character, which I'm still not entirely sure how much that affects your character, because I haven't gone super deep into the meta of the game or anything like that. Oh, I need more strength on my character. So I haven't gone that deep into it. But yeah, you get to pick what's your character's strength and what's your character's weakness. In my case, I went with my character's strength is strength. So I was going for, I want to be more melee oriented, and my character's weakness is luck, which yeah. I thought that was a nice little combination. So that's what I went with. If you guys are wondering about difficulty that I've been playing in normal, and I've been playing in classic mode. So every time a character dies, it dies forever. I haven't lost any characters yet, though, so I want to say that I'm doing pretty okay. But it is a scary thought to think that, oh my God, every single time that one of these characters dies, I'm losing this character forever. So. But yeah, so at the end of this cutscene, essentially, your character is found by Chrom and a group of his friends in a field, but your character has no memory of what happened, and Chrom doesn't seem to recognize you. So, like I said, at the start, you're fighting with Chrom against an evil wizard, and then something happens, and your character is just found by Chrom, who apparently doesn't know you, and your character also doesn't have any recollection of what happened. So there's a little bit of a paradox thing going on there. And at this point in the adventure, essentially you team up with this group that are the shepherds, who supposedly are protecting the kingdom of Ylisse, the Halidom of Ylisse. I'm not sure how to pronounce the actual name of the place that you're supposed to protect, but it is something of Ylisse. And you guys are supposed to protect it against, foreign threats and whatnot, because there's this other kingdom, the neighboring kingdom to the Halidom of Ylisse is very warmongering and whatnot. They want to start a war. They want to pick a fight, essentially. But something happens, and these Risen start pouring out of gates and whatnot, and you guys have to go ahead and deal with both the Risen threat as well as the threat of this other empire that is trying to start a fight. Which, again, like I said, I don't want to tell you too much about the story. I just wanted to give you an idea of the plot. But the story itself, once you get to, interact with the characters and once you see the dialogues and all this stuff that is going on, I've really, really been enjoying it up until this point. On top of the story and the dialogue sections, because you got those dialogue sections that are typical from Japanese games where you see a portrait of your character. By the way, when you create your character, which does have some character customization options, your character does have like this anime avatar that you see as you're creating him, and that avatar shows up during the dialogues, which is when supposedly you are talking. I haven't really had any dialogue choices so far, so I think that the adventure is going to be very much, linear, with the exception that you can choose like which path you're going to go to, which mission you want to take on, which units you want to take. There is a lot of tactical decision making, but not in terms of like the story progression. The story so far, at least in the first 4 hours of gameplay, is very much linear. There's no like, oh, you need to decide if you want to do, you need to decide if you want to face off against the Arisen or face off against these dudes. No, it's more like just go on ahead and you can take on side quests if you so desire. So beyond the dialogue and all that stuff, there's also some really good animation cutscenes, which highlight important points in the story, like the animation cutscene of the intro where you see the fight with your character in Crom. There's another one where you guys find a character whose only reason I know his name is because of the amiibos. But you get there's a portion where you meet up with Marth, and there's a big cinematic part about that and whatnot. So yeah, there's some cinematics in there as well. I really like the animation on those cutscenes. They're very, very good. The writing in the dialogue sections is also pretty good and adds a little bit of humor every now and then to the storytelling experience, which, it's just pretty much solid from what I could see so far. Now, at this point, as you guys know, I like to focus a lot on gameplay analysis. So we're going to be talking about the gameplay. So how do the battles work? Let's start with the combat for the gameplay. So whenever you're in gameplay mode, essentially you're in this world map that you can go to. You've got your side quests, you've got your main quests, you got all the stuff that you can do on that map. You can also buy equipment and whatnot on that map. And then essentially you say, okay, I want to go to my objective. You go to your objective and you enter this different different area, which is going to be the map that you are going to engage battle in. So in that particular part, at the very start, you're essentially picking out the units that you can use. These become unlocked as you progress through the story or as you play through certain side missions. You can win units. You can also summon them from this online service, but I haven't gotten too far into that online stuff. But you can select which units you're going to bring into battle. You can select which skills they have equipped, which at the very start, you'll be able to equip all the skills, but I'm assuming that later on, a lot later on, you will have so many skills that you will actually have to pick and choose which skills you can bring into combat. And after you decide all of that, you also decide the equipment that you want to have on those characters, and then you can actually begin the fight itself. Now, once you go to begin the fight, your characters will usually be laid out for you automatically, which is something I thought it would be cool if they would allow you to actually, decide where you want to place your units strategically. But I'm guessing that would go against the way that they prepare the challenge for you, because usually the enemy units are already in place, and you have to deal with your positioning as well as the positioning of enemy units, because sometimes you have some scenarios like you might have to save a character that is like away from you, and you have to move your party from point A to point B and whatnot. So the positioning is predetermined by the AI, where your characters are positioned, but you choose which characters you take into battle. Now, when you are on those tactical overview map, let's call it, essentially your characters are represented by very small sprites. Now, these maps are going to be tile-based, so you're going to be able to see all the tiles, and you can even press a button and it shows you exactly where all the enemy units can reach, so that you can plan all of your moves in advance, knowing that, okay, if I move over here, they're going to be able to get to me, which really simplifies and doesn't force you to like, oh, I need to check all the enemy units to see how much movement they have and see if they can get to my units. You know, it doesn't force you to do that, and that is so good, because that is something that I was like, I wonder if they're going to force you to do that stuff, because I'm not into that. So I like the fact that you can just press a button, shows you exactly all the range of all the enemy units and if they can get to you or not. Which means that essentially this allows you to decide, okay, I want to pick a fight, so you can put your character in range and wait for them to come to you, or you can put your character out of range, force them to advance, and then engage first. So there's a lot of tactical decision making going in those battles. Now, that is just the tactical overview, and it allows you to basically see where the enemies are. It allows you to see where your units are, and you know, you can see how many tiles apart you are. You can set up essentially, like, it's just tactics. It's all about tactics, deciding which unit goes where. And in that screen, you can essentially move your units around or get them to attack enemy characters. Now, once you attack enemy characters is the part that I like, because usually in these games, they don't pay that much attention to like combat animations and stuff like that. And Fire Emblem Awakening really does it, and really does it well, because when you take an action, like let's say you decide, okay, I want this unit to fight this other unit, it's going to show you what the battle looks like on a screen. So it shows you your unit in full 3D, fully animated, just attacking another unit. And depending on the weapon that you choose, it is also going to feature that specific weapon on that specific unit. And the weapons that you choose for each unit also have strengths and weaknesses. Like, for instance, if I remember correctly, swords are strong against axes, axes are strong against spears, arrows are very strong against Pegasus units, and there's just like a ton of stuff like this that you got to keep in mind. And there's also spell casting and whatnot. But essentially, whenever you get 2 units into combat, you're actually going to be able to see the animation, and the animations look really, really good. There's only one problem that I have with the art style, and that is that the characters don't have any feet. And I looked this up because I was really curious, like, why wouldn't the characters have any feet? Like, what's the reasoning behind it? And it's kind of weird, because it is a mix of an artistic decision by the developers, because they wanted to give the characters some kind of a deformity to almost give it a signature art style. And they were also wondering if the 3DS was going to be able to handle all the animations that they were working on. So they were also considering, you know, removing the feet removes an extra articulation that we don't have to worry too much about. So it was a mix of that, but I do believe that they probably regret their decision, because I think a lot of people are looking at it and they're like, where are the characters' feet? Why don't the characters have any feet? What the hell is going on here? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I got really obsessed over it. I was like, is my console broken? Like, what's going on? Why don't these characters have any feet? But no, it's actually, I mean, it was a decision that they've made, and it's just weird for me. But anyways, apart from the whole thing about the characters not having any feet, the animations are straight up solid. They look really good. The character models are also pretty good. The 3D effect is not very deep, so it's very, how should I put this? It's almost optional if you really want to use the 3D or not in this one, because they don't overuse it. Let's put it like that. It's a very superficial level of 3D that you get in this title, and it's not that important. Let's be honest. I mean, this is a tactical strategy RPG. You're not really going to, you know, be going crazy over the graphics, but still they do a really good job with it, I have to say. And I really like just seeing those animations. You can speed the animations up, so like if you really just want to be the super tactical guy, you can even just press start whenever an animation starts and just skip it and just, you know, go straight to the outcome of what happened. But I like seeing those animations. So but that's something about me. I've already told you guys this in Persona Q, for instance. I told you guys that, like, I really like the fact that you see the characters popping in and doing their attacks and whatnot. That's a big deal for me. I was talking about weapons earlier, and I told you that you can select different weapons for different characters and whatnot, and you can select these based on fight. So let's say you can actually load up a character with a sword, a hammer, and a spear, and then just whenever you do an attack, you choose, okay, right now I want you to use the spear. Right now I want you to use the sword. But what happens is these weapons, they all have a finite number of uses. So let's say, for instance, you buy yourself a sword at the store. That sword is going to have 50 uses. So once you use it 50 times, I'm assuming it's going to break. I haven't broke any of my weapons yet. I've done a lot of fighting. Haven't had to buy a single piece of equipment yet. And I've had quite a bit of drops because you don't only have the option of buying equipment like in stores when you're in between missions, but you might also get drops while you are doing missions. So far, I've just been getting by with the initial set of weapons that they give you and weapons that I've got from drops in missions and whatnot. But yeah, every weapon has finite uses, which I'm assuming once you end those, essentially what happens is that weapon breaks or something or becomes unusable, at which point I'm assuming you won't be able to do combat with that particular character using that weapon. And now you guys might be wondering, what about spell casting? What about ranged combat? Exactly the same. So spell casting is represented through tomes. So for instance, let's say you want to cast a fireball. There's going to be a book. It's just going to be called Fire, and it's going to come with a preset number of uses. I think by default, most stuff comes with 50 uses. So you can just use up that book until it runs out. In terms of spells, you can cast them from 2 tiles away instead of having to be adjacent to your enemies. And then this will not allow them to do counterattacks if they're only equipped with melee weapons. But for instance, if you cast spells on an archer, he's going to be able to do a counterattack. Because whenever you attack a unit, that unit gets a chance to do a counterattack unless for some reason they can't. Like if you attack a mage point blank, they can't do, or can they? No, actually mages can do counterattacks. If you attack an archer point blank, they can't do counterattacks. They need to move 1 square away from you in order to attack you. Which at that point, if they attack you 1 square away and you don't have a ranged weapon, you can't counterattack. So this should give you an idea of how stuff kind of works. Now, beyond just regular moving your units around and attacking and whatnot, there is a wide variety of units that you can have. So I already talked about different weapons like having spears, having swords, having all that kind of stuff. That in and of itself already makes your units somewhat unique because, like I said, axes will overpower spears. So if you're fighting speared enemies, you want to bring your axe dude to go ahead and beat the crap out of them. If you're fighting axe enemies, you might want to bring your sword because swords overpower axes, and so on and so forth. You want to mix and match your troops to be able to counter your enemy's weapons. But beyond that, you have different types of units. So you will have units that have more movement, like you might have a cavalry unit, for instance. One of the strongest units I would have to say that you have at the very start of the game is Frederick, who is this knight that is just on top of a horse. And you can actually, the fact that he's on top of a horse allows him to move a lot faster than everybody else, but he's also just a beast. He's just a straight up beast. He's the character that deals the most damage out of every single other character that I have for some reason. And then I also have right now a character that's riding atop of a Pegasus, but she is very vulnerable to arrow fire, like to the point where I've once took a shot with that character and it almost died straight up. I think I was lucky it didn't die. I was like, what the hell? That's like insane. Are you kidding me right now? 1 arrow damn near kills this character. So you got to be really careful about the whole weapon opposites and whatnot, because that is going to screw you over big time. Then each character might have also different critical attacks and whatnot, as well as different skills, which will come into play. Some of these skills will be passive, but I believe you will also have access eventually to active skills, which I'm assuming are going to greatly change the battlefield. But for now, the passive skills that I do have available to me are also a big, big difference. Like Crom, for instance, has like this skill called the double strike. And whenever he does an attack and someone counters him, there's a chance that he counters them back. And I've seen him counter with critical strikes, and the animations that they do for the combats will actually show you this. Like you will see a little, not an icon, but like a banner pop up of the character in the middle of the fight. And you will see just like his eyes just going, Urgh. He's charging up, and he's just like critical attack smashes the other unit. I just like that kind of stuff. I know that I've said it once and I'll say it again. It's like I'm very into animations, and I really like the animations in this game. Now, another important thing about your units when they're in battle is the fact that you have relationships between units, which means that as they fight together, they will gain, they will level up their relationship level, and they will become better for fighting close to one another. Now, this happens if you are fighting and you have an adjacent unit to you, to the unit that is fighting. that counts as them fighting together. Or you can pair up units, which essentially means they form up in a way that those two units only occupy one tile, and the unit that pairs up with the other one, essentially one of them becomes the main unit, the other one becomes the support unit. The unit that supports grants extra stats to the main unit. Now this opens up a lot of tactical possibilities, because let's say, for instance, I want to make sure that this character doesn't die. You can designate him as a support character for a tanky character. And the only time that they will be able to get to the character that can't die is if they kill the big character. So there's a lot of tactical options there once you start, using the system of pairing up and whatnot. Now, one of the problems with pairing up, as well as one of the minor issues that I have with the game, is the fact that in order for characters to gain experience, they have to contribute to the fight. So what this means is when you pair two characters up, there's a chance that they will contribute to the fight. So let's say, for instance, you pair your character with Crom. There's a very big chance that your character will attack at the same time as Crom does, because usually your character tends to have a decent relationship level with Crom. But if your character happens to not attack, and let's say you keep him paired up with Crom the entire fight, he never attacks once, essentially your character gets no XP. So, this leads to a couple of problems here and there, which is, like, let's say, okay, there's this character that I really like, but the good tactical decision right now is to not use him. So that at that point, that character gets no XP. So I have a wide variety of levels in my party. Like, I have some characters that I like that are still level 1 because I haven't really had a chance to use them properly. And then there's characters that I really don't care that much about, and they're just like level 6 because I've had plenty of chances to use them tactically, So I almost wish there was a way to give XP or something to other characters. But yeah, that's something that I kind of feel could use a bit more polish maybe in that system. But I don't know. I've only played 4 hours, like I said, which is very little time to actually get into grips with a game like this. So I was talking about character relationships. I keep going back and forward. But essentially, improving the relationships improves the chance that your characters will help each other out when they are fighting side by side. So the advantage of this would be, like, for instance, I've had situations where one of the characters jumped in as the other character was being attacked. He just jumped in and blocked the attack for the other character. Other times I've had, like, a character was attacked and then he counterattacked it, and another character that was in an adjacent tile who had a good relationship level with her also counterattacked it at the same time, which led to a pretty much devastating attack on the dude that was attacking us. So there's a lot of stuff that you got to manage there. And there's also things that happen outside of battle. So the more they fight together in close proximity or paired up, the more their relationship level builds up. But also outside of battle, you can go to the barracks, and sometimes events take place there that you can listen in on. And that will also improve the relationship level of characters. And there's also a specific menu that is the support menu, which is whenever certain characters achieve a certain level of their relationship, you get to see a little bit of a cutscene of a dialogue between the both, where you get to know more about the characters, and you also improve that relationship level. So there's a bunch of stuff that you can do to improve the relationship of these characters, and it is very important because it will greatly affect their performance in combat. In terms of the scenarios, I've really enjoyed the variety of scenarios that I've fought in so far. I mean, I fought in forests, I fought in castles with snow, I fought in arenas. There's a big variety of scenarios, and there's like stuff in the scenarios that gives you advantage. Like, let's say you might be able to put a character inside a fort. If that happens, that specific character will gain certain bonuses while he is at the fort. So it's good to defend the position, for instance. I've had another scenario that I played recently where if you didn't put characters in forts, those forts would be constantly reinforced by enemy units, which also forced me to, like, okay, so I got to leave a couple of characters behind. There's just a lot of variety in the decisions that you have to make during those tactical battles, and I feel that variety keeps the game fresh. They're constantly introducing new characters, constantly introducing new mechanics and stuff, and giving you new gear. Sometimes exploring the barracks might wield gear as well. Like going to the barracks, I've had a situation where my character was just running around the barracks, and I'm like, what's happening? So I go and I press the listen in button, and my character's like, what's this? He picks up a sword, finds a sword in the middle of the ground. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So it just feels like a very complete game. There's a lot of stuff to do, both in battle as well as outside of the battle. And something that is really cool is the character development. And I'm not talking about just stats, because obviously your characters will level up, and your characters will get more stats as they level up. They get more strength, they get more agility, whatever. They get all the typical stats, and that will improve their combat performance as they level up. But beyond that, I'm talking about character development from a story point. Each of these characters has distinct personality traits that you will get to experience as you see those dialogues with, you know, either in battle, because sometimes dialogues also happen in battle, or during those relationship building cutscenes that you see every now and then as well. So that is pretty cool too. And beyond doing the main story missions and side quests, sometimes they will just unlock random challenges in the map where you can just go off and fight enemies, and you will gain bonuses. You'll gain obviously XP, but you might also find gear, you might find experience, and it's also good practice. So there's more than just the main story here. There's just a lot of stuff to do. They also have a bunch of online functionality that I didn't really explore all that much. I just went in there and I said, okay, update the thing. There was like an update button there. And as it updated, it said, oh, I downloaded all these things. So then I go and I say, okay, give me all the maps. So I've gotten like an extra 5 or 6 maps that I'm not even able to do yet because I can't get to those locations in the world. I've also got a bunch of bonus items, which I don't know why that happened. It was just there. And you can even summon in these characters from these teams, which I'm not even sure what that does yet. But there's a lot of online functionality. There's also duels, like you can duel your friends. I'm assuming more in ad hoc mode, but maybe even in online. Not 100% sure on that, because like I said, I haven't really used that functionality. And beyond all the stuff I've been talking about, there's also a bunch of street pass functionality that you can do. So, I mean, in my opinion, this title is pretty solid. If you like tactical RPGs, I don't really think you can go wrong with Fire Emblem Awakening. It is just very, very, very solid, and the gameplay experience has been great so far. And in 2015, there's a new one coming out, a new Fire Emblem. So I want to get a little bit more action in on this one, because I think I'm going to get really deep on the next one. Now, in case you guys are wondering about me doing series on these, because I've been getting a lot of requests on the previous 3DS videos, like, are you doing series on this or that and the other, particularly for Monster Hunter? It's like I can't really do series on these yet, guys, because as you guys can see from the gameplay that I'm splicing into the video, I'm basically filming the console. I don't actually have a capture unit for the 3DS yet, and there's no 3DS available of, you know, the new model of the 3DS with the capture unit. So, you know, I really don't want to go buy an old 3DS with a capture unit. So I'm trying to see if I can wait it out until they come out with the capture unit for the new one. And at that point, maybe, but I still don't know. So I'm sorry, no series plans for 3DS as of yet, apart from first impressions videos like this one. So yeah, anyway, Fire Emblem Awakening, I like it. If you like tactical RPGs, most likely you'll enjoy it too. If you like games like, for instance, this Gaia, which I've shown previously in the channel, most likely you'll enjoy this as well. Now, as per usual, thank you very much for watching. Leave me your comments, feedback, all that kinds of good stuff in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.